Hi, today I want to show you how you can integrate upload care inside of WeWeb. And if you take a look at the WeWeb forum, you see that this is quite a process. And there are actually some packages on the marketplace on how to set that up. So pre-made packages, but it's actually pretty simple to integrate upload care. You just need to know a little bit about code. And I know half of the WeWeb community now is like, code, but I want you to start getting familiar with code because code is something very exciting, very interesting, and it's not something that should be scary in any way. So even if you don't want to use upload care, because WeWeb has a great native file uploader, I would highly suggest sign up for a free upload care trial, right? Or for the free account. Follow along with this video because we're going to take a look how we can get JavaScript libraries rendered into WeWeb with the example of upload care, so you can set those things up yourself. Because of course you can buy something from the WeWeb marketplace, but then you still don't know how to set it up. Now, I'm not saying don't buy the packages from the WeWeb marketplace. There are great packages out there. People put a lot of time in there. They help you move faster. But I think it's as valuable as possible to make sure that you still understand those principles when you work with those templates, right? So today we're going to take a deep dive at how we can get those JavaScript libraries rendered in WeWeb with the example of upload care. So let's get right started with this inside of WeWeb. Now, I'm right now at the WeWeb editor here, and I already got my upload care account set up. Now, I just said I want to continue with JavaScript. I can then also adjust my theme and do all those kinds of cool things. I like purple, looks like a tech startup. Yeah, let's do this. Let's enable Dropbox, Google Photos. Let's just do everything, right? We got an image editor here. There you go. So we got it all now. Literally, we got it all. So now we have this configuration here. And we need to get this working in WeWeb. Now, this will be interesting because generally what I know is no-code tools have problems when it comes to importing script tags if you just put them in the HTML. Now, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I do have an assumption. So let's try this first, and then we can always resort back to what I originally planned already inside of here. But let's see if HTML does the thing. WeWeb does not have an HTML embed to my knowledge. HTML, no, they don't. Okay, so we would probably add this then in the header, but then if we turn this into a component, that's not nice. Yeah, so how about we just use the JavaScript option? Because if we now were to go into the header assets, oh, that's not the header assets. I need to go to the page then, right? We would be able to add custom code on the page. But yeah, I don't like that because with this one, our code just runs on one page, but we should turn this into a component for best practices. So yeah, we won't be doing that. So let's actually start by creating a component for best practices. And we're going to start this out with a flexbox, with a div block inside of here. And let's go in here and turn this into a component. And I'm going to call this upload care. There you go. I don't have a folder right now. I don't need to put an image in here. Let's just create this upload care component. So now I have an upload care component. Now we can work with properties and all those things, but I want to do a few things first. First, I want to have inside of here a workflow in this component. And this will be on execution, on mounted. I think we should do on mounted. Let's try unmounted. So that will probably be when we mount this on the DOM. What I want to try is I want to run some JavaScript, custom JavaScript, because now we need to get the SDK loaded, right? So for this, we need to go to some custom JavaScript, and actually I built a Chrome extension. I gotta get rid of that. Remove from Chrome. Remove. Let's reload my page. I built a Chrome extension for WeWeb, but it's not doing me a great service right now in recording videos here. So let's go on upload care. I gotta open the component, edit component, there you go. So let's go back to our workflow on mounted, and now there you go. I can edit the custom JavaScript and actually see what I'm doing. That's good. So let's do this bigger. There you go. Very nice. Okay, so I got a little bit of a code here. What essentially we want to do is we want to load this with JavaScript, and we want to, load this just normally as JavaScript. So I have a little thing made by ChatGPT here. There you go. That should do the thing. We should be loading this. It's already looking for the mounted event, so document append. I'm probably not taking the code just blindly, so I'll just take the good parts. Let's first go into here, and let's first start by just loading the script tag and the style tag first via JavaScript. So we're just going to load this, and then we're going to load the script as a module, right? So we just can do the import statement. For that, we gotta then upload care should probably do the same thing. Import. We could essentially just run this code here that upload care gives us, because SDKs always import the library, but here we're kind of like importing the library and then we're going to define it here, right? So we could just run this, what their documentation gives us, and the code that we have already generated is just essentially adding this to the page, to the DOM, by doing this with JavaScript. So there you go. Now we should be importing upload care, and we can verify this by taking a look at the console. So there you go. An error happened during the execution. Invalid syntax, cannot use import statement outside a module. Okay, so we cannot use an import statement if it's outside a module. So let's see, we will probably need to create an element. This will be interesting. Let's try what ChatGPT is doing. Yeah, we can't use modules. So let's say I need JS to programmatically generate a script tag with this content in it. Oh shit, ooh, I need this one. Let's send this one here. Because how this works with other no-code tools is like with Toddle or whatever, you essentially are, you're essentially just not adding those elements that load those scripts to the DOM, meaning directly to the page. You need to load it in there to get them to properly append to it. So we got to do a little bit of JavaScript, and we can't just do an import statement by ourselves. So there you go. That should do the thing. So now we're actually forcefully adding this. So by running this now in here, we get a success. So if we now take a look at the network tab and we try running this as a sample, it executes the custom code. I don't think we're going to get it. I don't think we're going to get it appended to the DOM. So let's see. Let's close this so we can take a look at this in the preview. So right now we got this, and this is running unmounted. So this will be good. We need to give it a name. Let's say load upload care resources. There you go. Load upload care resources. We can close this, and let's go to the preview, and let's take a look at if we're loading the upload care library, because that will be very important to configure this. Okay, we're loading lots of things here. Okay, let's take a look. Upload care. Okay, so as you can see, we loaded two resources. We loaded the CSS of upload care and the JavaScript. So now we get upload care running on the WeWeb DOM, which is good. This is the first step. Now the second step, we're getting their web components sorted out. So for this, we got it all nice in components now. We're doing all best practices here, right? So let's edit that element here. And let's take a look. And I got my UC config. This will be a custom element with a custom tag. So let's see, can I just paste this in WeWeb? No, I can't. So this will be interesting. I assume I just need to add a div block. Well, let's see. I could use this one directly, but can I change the tag? Let's see. HTML attributes, ID, class, elements name. Is that the tag? Let's see. Because we need to have a custom tag to this. Let's give it a name, elements name. Let's do custom tag. And let's try going to the preview here, and how about we'll give this a color like pink or something so we can see it. Let's go inside of here. Let's give it some styling because I could never find this on the page. There you go. Let's make it black. Okay. Oh, where did it go? I should probably add some width to it. Yeah. Let's edit component, and we need to give it a little bit of a width. So we're going to go in here with width 5 rem for now. Oh, I can't do rem in WeWeb. Oh, let's do 64 pixels, and then we're going to go with height. We'll do 64 pixels. Whoever is seeing this working with WeWeb, please add rems. Let's take a look at inspect because I want to see. We got this div inside of here, and now let's see, we got the before. Let's see how is it handling the name. So it just adds it as a div. It doesn't add it as a custom web component. So this will be fun. It doesn't add it as a custom tag inside of here. So let's take a look at some of their settings. We got link, we got the HTML attributes, we got the element name inside of here, but that doesn't serve us that well. We got the ID attribute, we got conditional rendering, we got some of the layout options here, which we don't need, and we got, okay. So right now we're facing a little challenge where upload care requires us to use a custom component with a custom name. I am not sure how we can add this in WeWeb. So let's see, they must have something in here. Let's see, there's some coded component. No, I don't think we need to use this. There's some other elements, some assets here, but I don't need that. So let's take a look, because normally those SDKs don't give us a custom web component, they just give us an ID, which is a simple thing to do. Now upload care is a little bit funky because they do require us to give it a custom tag name. But actually, oh, I see we have an HTML embed inside of here. So we can add this inside of here with the HTML embed. So let's copy the HTML embed. Let's go to upload care again. Let's edit this. Yeah, and oh, if I delete this, okay. So I need to adjust a few things. Let's go back inside of here with the custom tag, and let's just delete the styling that we have on here. Yeah, let's just clear this. Okay, so now we got custom HTML. So we can give this a name here. We can say UC holder as an example. So that will be our upload care holder. So now we got the UC holder here, and you know, this will be interesting. Now we can get some custom HTML, and let's take a look. Edit HTML in settings. So now I have a custom HTML element, and I could just, you know, put my HTML inside of here. So we should be able now to go to upload care and add the UC config in this HTML element here. Okay, that looks good. Can we expand the side? No, I can't expand the side. Okay, so now we got this inside of here. And can I make the HTML dynamic? Okay, that's good. Let's do a formula. I want JavaScript. Sorry for everyone. I like JavaScript. Okay, so we would probably need to do return. We need to put this in quotes, so we're going to get the HTML rendered inside of here. And then we got the CTX name, which should be dynamic, so I can do question mark open close, and now I can add a dynamic ID inside of here as an example. So I can get this from a variable. So for now, I'm just going to do variable. There you go, variable. So I can get this from a variable, and then we can take a look at some of those things later on. And then I got my source list with the sources. So I got my source list here. Let's just put this also inside of here, and I can do, this will be getting from a variable, right? And then I got my camera, which ones I allow. So I can, again, make this dynamic and get variable, quotes, variable inside of here. And then the public key, we want to make this dynamic as well, so it's reusable. And we are going to add in quotes in here, variable. There you go. So now we're rendering those. And let's see, let's copy this. Can I just convert this then to be a formula? No, they don't do that. With formulas, I would need some help from WeWeb's AI to actually figure out how to do a formula, because I'm probably better at JavaScript than doing their own formulas, but I want to try it. We can always go back, right? So let's try by, probably want to put this as a string if I do a formula, correct, right? Let's just try doing this. Okay, so I got this as a string. Okay, so then I got my uploader. So what happens if I then go inside of here and add a variable? Maybe I need to remove the quotes, or no, but I shouldn't. Okay, how do I add a variable inside of here, or anything from the data? Let's try by going current page. Okay, so I don't see let's copy this. I don't see their colorful things, right? So what I assume is I may need to do actually the same syntax inside of here, or we actually need to do different manipulation. I think we just need to do the plus stuff. So let's take a look at this here. We need to put this probably in brackets until here, and then I want to put this in brackets and this in brackets. Okay, I think I have an idea how to do this with their native formula. Let's put this inside of here. This does not work, right? We need this as a string, so I'm going to do backticks. Okay, now I'm getting this rendered as a string. So let's try. We got but we still have their abstraction. So how about actually I use one-line quotes for this? Invalid or unexpected. Okay, let's try WeWeb AI. Let's see. I have a string. I have a HTML string like this. And I need all values of the of the attribute values to be dynamic, right? How does WeWeb's syntax need to be? Because I got it working in JavaScript, but I want to get it working in their native stuff. So let's see how that works, because I never it does JavaScript. Okay. Oh, and now it turns. Ooh, that's good. But the CTX is not defined. Concatenate. You know what? I'm afraid we may just use JavaScript. Oh, this is how it's doing it. Formula. I think, let's see. We will just hard code this for now to get some life to it, right? Let's get rid of the AI. We'll hard code this for now with JavaScript. Return, backtick, close the backtick. We're rendering the JavaScript here. Okay, so now we can add another HTML element inside of here. So let's add that. Okay, so now we got this HTML element here. Let's expand that. And now we need to have the UC file uploader regular. And you can, use whatever theme you really want to do here. And I got that HTML going, and let's just go have it come from a formula here. So I can just, because I want to have this dynamic, because I want to be able to have this fully configurable at the end. This should be the master component. And now, as you can see, we get upload care rendered. Huh? Isn't that cool? Right? So now we got upload care rendered in WeWeb. We got way more stuff to do with this, because now what happens, let's take a look at the console, right? Right now, if I upload an image, it uploads the image, but how do I get the image, right? That's now the whole thing, and I can edit that image very nicely. But, I'm like, how do I get this image? And that's a good question, right? And there is no image available to me right now. So we need to actually work with a little bit of JavaScript here with some of the WeWeb abstraction to get this actually to work. So let's edit the component again. And let's go inside of here and take a look at upload care's documentation. So upload care gives us this element that's like the context provider, CTX provider, and we can add an event listener on this CTX provider with a query selector. We could even do it by ID if we want to. So in this example, we will probably need to take a look. Okay, we can't directly go to this element to add an event listener to it. So we will need to go with JavaScript for that. And the easiest way to do this is to go to the existing workflow that we have generated. How do I edit that again? Ooh, got some JavaScript. Okay, go and edit here. Let's make this bigger. And then when we have loaded this, we're just starting to register an asynchronous event listener. So for that, I need to go to upload care's documentation. I'll just be copying the event listener, right? And I'm just going to put this inside of here. Okay, so now, as you can see, we're listening for an upload care event on this specific uploader, which we probably want to do dynamic, but that will be the next step when we want to reuse this across multiple instances of the page, right? But now we are registering this event and we're just doing a console log when we get that event. So now with this being set up, I can run this here. Should it work successfully? Oh, what happened? Cannot use properties of event of null reading event listener. Oh, that may be because just we're defining it on a page, right? Because CTX will be null, right? And because it's not defined yet. But I think that should be solved when we go into the preview mode and reload the page. Let's take a look at the console. We should see the files now coming in to the console. Let's take a look at that. Let's see. Let's go on preview. Let's try a look. Let's upload a file. Okay, so right now we're having an issue registering that event listener. So first of all, we probably want to take a look at the event listener if this event even exists. So we have this upload care upload CTX provider, and this is the element that we have generated on the page, right? So let's expand this in here and let's take a look at the upload care uploader. Let's go on edit component. There you go. And now let's see what this is doing. So we have, I think the last element is the context provider. No, that's the uploader regular. This is the CTX. Oh, we have no context provider added yet. We have the upload care config, right? And if I open this one here, we have the upload care uploader itself, but there is no context provider added yet. So we actually need to add an HTML element inside of here to add this context provider. So let's go to this component here and let's add the context element because it is a web component. And we now need to go inside of here. I want to have this served by a formula so I can make it dynamically with some JavaScript. I like JavaScript. We'll paste this inside of here. Well, we want to close this. And now we have this context provider. So now if I reload the page and I take a look at the console, right, and just ignore the errors, for now at least, we'll see, maybe I messed something up. But now I should be able to go on upload, right, and I should be able to upload a file. Okay. Right now, we're not registering this event, but now the element exists at least on the DOM, so we're doing already quite fine, I would say. But let's see what's going on here. If not, I think I already have a way around this. Let's try another thing. And right now, we're trying to do this in a WeWeb workflow, but it seems like we're a little bit stuck here when it comes to some of those things. So what we could do, I can just inject a script tag here in this HTML like this. So we'll execute that code with the event listener. Right? It's JavaScript, so that format should be fine. In this example, we will probably get an event listener registered. I think we just have an issue running this on the mount event. Right? So let's try uploading a file here. That should actually give us a console log. I would be surprised if it wouldn't. Interesting, it does not. Wow. Okay. Let's take a look. Why is this not happening? We may have some restrictions in how we can run JavaScript in here. But let's see. Let's go and edit component. Let's go on this HTML. This will be the last one. So we got the CTX name. We got the upload care CTX. I need to make this bigger. Okay, so we got the UC CTX provider, and we're doing a query selector to attach UC context provider, and we're adding an event listener on change. And then on change, we're going to add a console log. Okay, so I have a few things I want to try with this because it should work. It could be that they actually have the wrong ID. Let's try that one. Let's take a look. Let's go inside of here. This one has CTX name, my uploader. Let's take a look at this HTML element. This has CTX name, my uploader. So this should be fine. And then this HTML element has CTX name, my uploader. So this should all work, right? Let's see. Let's go to the preview here. Let's do a little refresh. What happens if I run this in the console? It says cannot get properties of event listener. Interesting. So what happens if I just try to get, if if I just return, I'm just curious, let's do console log, right? If this element exists, console.log, let's see, and we're getting a null, as you can see. So actually this element does not exist with this query selector. So I want to try something before I'll try some other things. Okay, it looks nice, we get it, but getting the files in upload care is always tricky. So let's take a look at this HTML that we run inside of here. With this UC provider, we seem to be able to just, to add an ID inside of here. So let's try this. Let's go to this element. Let's do ID equals upload care. So we're now adding an upload care ID, so we can just do query selector with a hash to get the ID when we register the event listener. So for that, let's go back into the component. Let's edit the component, and let's try this one. Because we may have an issue with the query selector, possibly, but we'll see. For that, I can just do hash and put the uploader inside of here. And then when I try to define this, I want to try to do a console.log. That tells us really what's going on here. And let's call this UC. And I'm going to then try to return the cons that I have defined for CTX inside of here. There you go. So let's close this. Let's close this. Let's preview this. I think we need to refresh the preview. Let's refresh the preview. I'm quietly optimistic that we're not getting a console error yet, but that may come when we reload the whole page. Yeah. So you see, when we're trying to get the element by ID, it's going to log this as a null. So this is not normal for JavaScript, but we'll see. Maybe it's also because we're doing it unmounted, so that element is not available yet. So we may need to, it's not best practices, but we may need to add a little sleep and create a separate action just for debugging purposes. So let's actually do exactly that. Let's go really quick here to edit the component, right? And let's go on the component workflow. And yeah, we're always getting that issue with the event listener. I do have an assumption why. Let's try opening this. Okay. Let's try something. Let's go to ChatGPT. I say, this works, but the event listener gets registered before the upload care element is loaded. Let's take a look at that. So AI can fix that for us. And yeah, that sounds about right. When wait for the custom element to be defined, then bind events. When UC file uploader, and that's just the main query selector, then query selector upload care. Let's try that. Let's go back to WeWeb. Let's put this inside of here. Okay. Let's try closing this. Okay. And let's try reloading the page. Let's see what happens with that. Are we still getting, right now there's no error with the event listener. So let's try uploading a file of the WeWeb logo. Right now we're not getting any console, but we're also not getting any issue in defining the uploader. So I do think we have a new issue. But let's take a look at this. Let's go on edit component here, and let's take a look at the workflow. Let's go and edit code. Okay, so we're loading this dynamically. This is good. I think the issue is we're waiting for the query selector to be UC file uploader. Let's take a look. When defined, UC file uploader regular. Oh, that's the issue. We're looking for UC file uploader, but we're using UC file uploader regular, so that element will never exist on the page. Let's try that one. Let's try reloading the page here and go into the preview mode. UC file uploader ready. I love how it just says now, doesn't look that optimistic, but we'll see it is ready, right? So let's see. Let's try uploading a file. Upload key element not found. Okay, this is fun. So let's see. Let's ask WeWeb AI here. Let's say I have a custom HTML element. How do I register an event listener in WeWeb? I'm not going to tell it what I did yet, because it may influence the AI response that I'm getting, because it should be able to register an event listener. In WeWeb, you can add for a custom HTML element if you use the component events feature. Component events, never heard of that. No, I don't think this is what we're doing. No, because I have a custom HTML embed. I mean for an HTML element via the HTML embed. Let's send that. Because we got it already loading, it's just the events. We have a little bit of an issue with the event listener. So document, add event listener, get element by ID. Okay, did some JavaScript. Okay, make sure. Okay, so I want to try something here. Let's exit the AI mode, right? Let's go to the upload care component. Let's go and edit component. And I'm going to go to the JavaScript here. And let's do a few things. Let's just remove the event listener from here. Let's close that. Let's add another custom JavaScript. Let's go and edit the code. Let's expand that here. Let's put the code that WeWeb AI gave us inside of here. I also would like to have that formatted settings. Ooh. No. Okay, no idea how to format that here. So how about I really quick go to JS formatter, online JavaScript beautifier. I'll just make it nice. Okay, let's go back to WeWeb. Let's put this inside of here. We do DOM element loaded, const. So now we're actually looking if this is all loaded. Seems to be fine. Your element ID, get element by ID. So we can call this element by ID. Oh. Upload care. So that will be the ID, upload care. And yeah, that will have the ID. And then I need to do let's try actually one of upload care's custom events. Let's take a look. This is UC common success, common upload success, yes. And we can go inside of here, and I want to put the event common upload success, and then inside of here I just want to do a console.log, just saying console log. I'm not too concerned about getting the data right now. I'm just concerned about seeing if there's any life to it. So let's do it works. So we can see if we can just register this event listener here on this element with upload care on this event. But let's also take a look at upload care's documentation again. They register this by query selector, document.query selector. It shouldn't be a problem. We can also try query selector. It just needs to make sure that we need to now have an element ID of upload care on their context element. That seems to be working. So we just now need to go to layout, and we need to go to the last HTML element, because that is, if I go to the HTML part here, that needs to have the ID upload care. Yeah, it already has that, so that's fine. Let's go on the preview here and let's reload, and let's inspect elements on this once this is loaded. Let's go on preview. Let's inspect elements. Let's inspect elements on inside of here. So we got UC file uploader. We got that custom element, and we got that nicely inside of here. And then we got this UC file uploader regular. Collapse that one. And inside of here, we got UC context provider, and we got given an ID. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so we have this context provider element. That's fine. Let's try uploading a file. I don't have any filters in the console. Yeah, I'm just not getting any console logs with this, which is quite frustrating. Let's try something else. Let's try going inside of this element, and let's go to the HTML part. I think it could be maybe with the formula and what I'm doing. Maybe we want to get it working correctly first, and then we'll do fancy stuff. So let's just, how do I clear that? I don't want to copy it. I want to unlink it. Let's just delete this then. And let's add an HTML element inside of here. Okay. And let's go on this HTML. I'm going to paste this code inside of here. Yeah, this is just a simple event listener that we are attaching. So that should work. I hope it does. Let's also try deploying this to a public domain, just in case that has something to do with it. Could be. We don't know. We don't know if we don't try, right? There you go. And then let's also try this in the preview. Maybe actually some issues with the iframe, because upload care iframes some, WeWeb iframes it, but I can't believe that it is, but we never know unless we try. So let's take a look at the console here. Let's try uploading something. Please work. Doesn't work. I'm not getting events. Let's take a look at the WeWeb JS event listener upload care. It can't be that this is not working. Upload care widget. I'm uploading files. Let's take a look. Incorporate HTML element in the workflow, not necessarily. Upload care. Resolving upload care issue. I'm just not getting WeWeb event listener. WeWeb JS event listener. Event listener best practices. Okay. Event drop, documentation of a new event actions. Yeah, I want to use custom code at once, but they just don't render. Interestingly. Very interesting, but I cannot explain myself why they wouldn't. Let's try this, because I have my event listener on here. Let's actually try a better event possibly. Let's try the done event, right? When we do, I think they have the change type, activity change, upload click, done click, right? So there is this done click event, and I just want to desperately try getting this working. So let's try edit the component, and let's go to the HTML. Let's go on the preview. They gotta step up their event listener game. I would love for them to have like custom web components, so you can just paste this like as a native component, your web component, and then you can just no-code register an event listener. This is what Toddle does. This is what makes working with upload care a complete breeze in Toddle and quite painful in WeWeb. So I think if they were to add that feature, that would be a big thing. But we do have that CTX UC provider. We're getting that. I need to do the done click, so I can do done click. And let's just try doing a console log saying, hey. But I think we're not even getting this element properly rendered. You know what? What if we inject this element with JavaScript? You know, we're already using JavaScript, so let's see. I need JS to create this element and add it to the page, and then register an on change event listener with console log. There you go. Let's take a look at that. I have a good feeling about this one. Wait for the custom element to be defined. I actually rewrote our whole thing, so we actually have some asynchronicity to this. This is good. Register the event listener. I'm appended to the DOM. Okay, it rewrote the whole code for me, which is fine. So let's actually kill this element, and we are kind of like now working with the DOM for this. So let's try on going on the action. Let's go and edit code here, and let's try putting this inside of here. This is now CTX name. It's now creating the CTX name, so there is context to it, right? Because it has the same CTX name, but we're now forcefully adding it and registering this event listener using JavaScript. Allow execution from drop zone, no. Okay, let's close this. Let's try this. So like if this doesn't work, I'm running out of ideas, but I think this forceful thing should work. It's quite forcefully how we're doing this. So let's actually first inspect elements here, and let's see. Let's take a look at CTX provider, and you see we're adding the CTX provider, and we're adding it programmatically, because if I open that component, it's not in there. And it does actually add it in quite some of a random spot. So it does add this programmatically now. My uploader style, CTX provider. Okay, this sounds good. Let's try uploading something. Take a look. We got the event. Ta-da! It's working. It's working. Look at that. So this is how you got to do things in WeWeb. I would still love custom HTML elements like Toddle has, where you can just directly on the pasted event define them. But I think, and this is just because if we now take a look at all entries, we're getting all our IDs and all our CDN URLs. There you go. Nice. So there are a few things right now. First of all, the event, we want to get all entries, and then we want to get, you know, we kind of like want to just get all entries, so we only get the file data. So for that, we want to go back to our, and we need to make this whole thing dynamic because we want to have maybe multiple uploaders on the page and don't mess everything up here. So what we need to do is we need to open this component again. Let's take a look at the upload care resource and what I want to console log, and then we need to get this data back with a custom event workflow and all that kind of stuff. But I do e.detail.all entries, right? This will give me the array of only the uploaded files. So if I now go on inspect here, and let's try reloading this. Okay, and now if I go to the console, and I'm going to go on the preview, and I'm going to upload the WeWeb, you will see that I'm now getting all the entries of all the uploaded, all the status and all that. So now change is not really the event I actually want to listen for. I want to listen for a few events. I want to listen for common upload success. That is the one that tells me that everything was uploaded, so I got it all in one batch, which is quite nice. So let's go back inside of here to this component, and let's edit the component, right? And we will need to go on the root component here on preview, and we will need to go inside of here and adjust the event that we're listening for. I want to listen for, okay, so let's section this code a little bit. Wait for custom element to be defined. Custom element when defined, CTX provider. Then create the element. Custom element when defined, use CTX provider. I don't fully understand why we're waiting till this is defined to create the provider. This, I don't think we need this. Okay, so how about we'll try deleting this, right? And then we'll see if we broke something. And if not, we're continuing our updates. How about that? Let's go on preview and let's reload the page. Oh. Okay. We may broke something. I got a bad gateway. Okay, let's try uploading a file here. And let's try uploading beginner office hours. And it does work, so nice. Okay, let's go on the upload care inside of here. Let's go on the workflow. And let's go on edit code. Let's expand this here. And let's take a look at this. So we're now creating this programmatically because we have to. Then we're appending it to the DOM. So this is good. And now we got this event listener after that was done. So I think sectionizing this code a little bit. So, you know, how about we just have this be the initialization of the SDK, and then we're adding another JavaScript, and we're going to edit the code, and inside of here we're just registering the event listener. I need to prettify my code. Let's see, there you go. Nice. So let's see if that still works, because console log is our friend and we are using it. There you go. Now we have this kind of like as a separate step to keep things nice and organized. Let's go on preview, always reload the page for the sake of making sure that everything was appended properly to the DOM. And now we're seeing uploader is not defined. Okay, let's see if I upload something. Yeah, so now we're starting breaking it, because I think it has to run in one code block, and that's completely fine. I can just work with comments to make it simpler to understand then. So let's go on, because we're probably having something defined in the code that I did not see. Yeah, because I don't think this code runs asynchronously, so I don't think the code waits till this completely finishes. right? And we don't want to work with a custom workflow that needs to be called. So let's copy this code, delete the action, and let's just expand the code. And now we're just going to work with comments here. I'm going to add a comment in here. Forcefully add the context provider. Okay, forcefully add the context provider. I don't like the numbers here. Let's just remove them. There you go. And now inside of here, I'm going to add event listeners. There you go. Now I'm going to put my event listeners inside of here. Let's just do all event listeners. And then I can go inside of here, 1, right? And I can just do upload success. So we're starting to register all the event listeners inside of here. So I'm doing upload success. And now we need to go to upload care, common upload success. That's the event that we want to use. And then we will get this on common upload success. There is another event, so I can just copy the event listener literally. And let's do this on done click, right? Because there's a done click. And now we can define this inside of here as well. So we can go not upload click, done click. There you go. I'm just going to use the most common ones that I would use for my own application. I like done click because this could trigger like the upload, you know, the API call or something if you want that. And then we got modal close. That may be important. So we can, gotta copy the code instance. Yeah, we're going to register modal close. We're going to put this inside of here. Oh, I didn't copy it correctly. Okay, let's copy this. And let's go on. Okay. On modal close. Okay. And then modal open. We may want to run some logic if we open the modal. So we're just going to, we can just copy this. And we can just do on modal open, on modal open. Okay. And let's keep looking. Any other events that we need on upload failed? Right, that could be file upload, but upload care handles that, so I don't think we need to show this in our URL. But file added, file removed, file URL changed. This is important. File URL change is very important actually, because this is when the user edits the image. So this is quite important. So let's put this on the top here, because it is the equivalent of upload success, because you know it's a new file being uploaded just from their image editor. So we need to register that event as well. So now we got those added. Let's call this image edited, right? So in here we can use both all entries. So we can just say manual upload. And then I'm going to call this, and we're going to call workflows for those, but I'm going to say image edited, and then I'm going to do on done. There is probably no event that we need to do if the user clicks on done click, because we already have that event tracked before, right? So I'm going to say on done click. And then we can remove this here because those are just like UI, UI events. And I'm just going to do on closed, and then inside of here, I'm going to make this in quotes on open. There you go. So now I got my event listeners registered. I can close this and preview. Let's reload the page, and then we can take a look at the inspect elements and take a look at the console and see what we are doing here. So let's go on preview. Let's upload. And now we see we got unopen. So now we know that there is an open event. Now I can upload an image. We should get, you know, image edited. It's just the same event because it just URL is changed, right? So, well, it's better to call an event than not to call an event, right? There you go. But image edited inside of here, manual upload. I think this will not cause any issues. Yeah, this should be fine. And then if I edit the image inside of here, we will see image edited, but I get this is undefined. So this is interesting. Let's investigate this. Why is this undefined? And for that, I just want to probably log the whole event detail to see, you know, maybe they have a different path that they call that under. So let's go on event. Let's go on my event workflow here. And let's go on in here with the JavaScript. And let's take a look. And I'm just going to do with event, I'm just going to do e.detail. That's how custom events get emitted in HTML. And I'm just going to reload the page. And we're going to take a look at this together. So let's go on preview. And let's try uploading an image. Okay, and let's try editing this image. You know, how about we just go here? How about we'll just take Damien? There you go. And now we see image edited, and it gives us file info, full file path. Oh, it only gives us, so here's the thing. When we edit the image, it only gives us the edited image. So here's probably what we want to do. We probably want to start using UploadCare's API in this for the sake of making this better. So here's the thing. We want to use this event, but we want to use their API to get all the files because I think it's a nicer and more robust way to work with that. So with that being said, let's close this. And let's go on editing the component here. Let's go on UploadCare, and we will then do a few things. Let's edit the code, and let's expand this. And then now we're going to do a few things here. So now we got the code. Oh, okay. Oh, I can't move it. Oh, let's close the console. Okay, nicer. Okay, so now we got this URL changed, but there's also the UploadCare API, which will allow us to get all files, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want upload all, add file from URL, no, remove file by, no, remove all files, init uploader flow, no, set current activity, no, set modal dialog localization, okay. Configuration. This is probably now a good time to ask ChatGPT. In the new UploadCare uploader, how can I get all files in it via JS, not using events? Let's see. Great question. With a new uploader v1 plus, you can get ctx get value, assuming your setup looks like this. Window dot let's see. So let's say I use the close event, which does not give me the entries. I will how will I be able to get all entries from that event via the API or else. Upload cache documentation is good, but it's very big, and they have this issue where they had a different uploader before, and then like everything on the internet is confused. But yeah, we can use the API, and we can just get all entries. Get output collection state. Okay, this is what I want to look for. Let's take a look at their documentation for this. Get upload collection state. Okay, get upload collection state. This is, here you go. Since I already described, here's an interface, status of uploading. Note that the return object isn't a plain object. So inside of here, the way we use this is just by uploader CTX get collection state. Okay, so we can actually use the code that is actually correct. So when we do CTX provider add event listener, we can just define the API from the CTX provider by get API. So when we add the event listener on this image edited event, we are using uploader for this. So this documentation tells us we need to define the API. That's the first thing we need to do. And keep in mind where CTX provider is what's defined here based on the query. So we need to go inside of here, and we need to turn CTX provider into uploader, because that is how we name things. Okay, so now we got it defined as uploader. Now we're doing get API, and this will define the API. As you can see here, const get API. So we're defining the uploader API so we can get access to that. Now we want to get all entries. This is exactly what we are needing and what we need. So I can go new line. I'm defining all entries here, and then as an object, and then let's take a look. I can lock just all entries. So I can adjust my console log here, which is all the way up here. Oh, which is all the way up here. And I can just move it down here. And I can just, instead of doing e.detail, I'm going to return all entries. So now when the image is edited, I'm getting the whole new array, including the edited image. So my state management is a little bit simpler when it comes to this. Let's close this, let's preview it, let's reload the page, and let's see if this is actually correct. Let's take a look at the console, and let's go on preview, and let's try uploading a file. We see on open. Let's upload expert office hours, right? Let's clear it to give it a fair shot. Again, let's take Damien. Oh, there you go. Let's take Damien. Let's check this, and now I'm getting image edited. And now, as you can see, I'm getting the whole array of all images. Let's verify if this upload care URL is the edited image of only Damien. We need to double check that. And yes, that is correct. Take a look at that. And we got the CDN URL and everything. So yeah, there you go. We got it all going on, all nicely working. And now we also got the event for if we close this, right? So if I go on done, there's the done event. On done, click on closed. Oh, there's a typo because it also closes it when you go on done, right? But there's still the unclosed event. So there you go. That's very nice. So we can now, this is basically it. Now we want to work with events because we want this component to emit events to us so we can listen for those events using WeWeb's native event system. But because I'm already 1 hour in and it's very, very early in the morning, I'm going to get a Starbucks coffee and I'll be back for you in a second. There you go, we're back. I just had my coffee and now we can continue. So now we got those event listeners all set up. So what I now want to do is we need to handle the callback properly. So this is fun in WeWeb because WeWeb does not have a native way to handle callback coming from JavaScript. We need to do this with a little bit of JavaScript. But it's completely fine. It's just a different thinking pattern to how I'm used to think in working with, you know, another tool called Toddle. They solve that directly with events in the code, but you still have to run ctx.trigger action event. So it's not that much different in WeWeb. It's just you have another action fetching that event. People who follow this YouTube channel know what I'm talking about, but it may seem like this is a restriction in WeWeb. They do support it, they just support it in a different way. So there's a different thinking pattern behind it, and also their documentation is quite bad, because I had to kind of like hack this and figure this out myself by going into the console. The way I found it out was I couldn't find any way how you can execute a workflow. AI couldn't help me. So if you ever have this in WeWeb, which seems like lots of people in the community have, what helps if you do www lib and then you just see what's in here. And I found, where was it? I just went through that. I said, oh, www workflow. And then I was like, oh, execute global. That's probably what I need, right? Execute global. And then I kind of like figured out, okay, how am I calling this workflow, right? So I actually figured it out through that, how to call it. So it's www lib, and I already have, you know, an example inside of here. So www lib, that execute global, and that kind of like executes a global workflow. Now, does it execute a component workflow? We're about to find out. So maybe that we need to run another one. Maybe we need to do www lib dot do they have, yeah, we can do www components, and then we can see what's in here. We can do dot, and we can do constructor to string register load. So yeah, this is kind of like, but I think we need to do www workflow. And we also have available to us here execute trigger, which is probably what we will need. So I think we'll then have the same format in here, but we're about to find that out right now. But this is kind of like how you want to do things in WeWeb when you are not sure, you know, what their current documentation is. And I've had to find this out myself. Because their documentation is great for everything NoCode, but when you go into the code, I think their documentation is quite lacking, and you rely on the community. And but there has been someone in the community, I think it was Roberto, who made a great post about that, and his stuff is amazing. I highly suggest you check that out. He is super smart in how he structures things, and what he does is just amazing. But I think that post was outdated. And I tried, and I was like, this is not working anymore. So, you always got to go with www lib. Everything runs through there. This is kind of like the WeWeb library. And because it is Vue, you can kind of like fork around with it and see what's going on. But let's go on edit the component here. And let's create a new workflow here. And this workflow is unmounted. And we're just going to add... this will be our callback workflow actually. So how do we do this? We probably need to do on execution, and we will need to be able to execute this then before unmount on property change, select property. Ooh. Okay, now we're getting interesting. I don't have a property. Oh no, this is like an attribute. This is like a runtime prompt in React probably. Before unmount, on execution. I think we need on execution. And then we can add parameters. And this is where it gets very interesting. So with the parameters here, we can add parameters inside of here for our type that we're trying to call. So I'm doing type. This will be text, right? So we can call this with type data. And then we can also bound it to a formula, but I don't need to put a formula inside of here. Ooh. Maybe I need to now. With JavaScript, but we'll do that later. Oh yeah, I can remove this. So what I need is, this is a workflow. This will be the event handler for the WeWeb event, so we can get them natively going, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm going to have this workflow, and I will call this upload care data callback handler, upload care. So this will kind of like handle the callback data coming from the custom code, and we'll be able to execute this workflow like here using JavaScript with this little WW workflow execute trigger. So in here, I want to have the event. Let's call this event. So this will be success, whatever, right? Done. This will be the event. And then we need to add another parameter here that will be JSON. So this will be an array, the list, right? There will be the list of files, right? So now we're kind of like having the event. We can add a sample event. This can be, I'm just going to use upload care's naming convention for this at this point. Let's go on events here, and let's just do a sample events of common upload success. Common upload success. There you go. We can just do event as a sample common upload success, and we're just going to add an empty array inside of here. There you go. So now we got this common upload success event right inside of here. That's it. So now we can add a multi-option split. So we can now kind of like create this multi-option split here, and we can kind of like define our branches, first value, second value, and we can just, you know, go inside of those and define them. So, what's that? What does that do? Add a default branch. No, let's do off. Okay. So the condition, and we kind of like got the conditions here. Okay, and we can kind of like, okay, haven't worked. I did work with that before. I forgot how to work with it. So that will be fun. Let's try it, right? So let's call this, multi-option split. This is okay. But let's call this process callback event. We could also do multiple actions for this, but I think that will maybe a little bit of an overkill, so I'll just do a conditional for this. And then we do process callback event. And let's see if we can do this with the execute trigger. Actually, at the risk of not being able to use this, how about we just see if this actually works? Let's just do, let's just go inside of here, and let's just do JavaScript for now, and then we'll go back to it, and we'll do console.log, and we'll do it inside of here. It works. Yay. There you go. We'll do a console log. So now I just want to see if we can call this even, right? So what we want to then do is probably, let's define this code here. We have parameters on here. So we have an event parameter and a files parameter. So let's really quick write some JSON for that. Let's just really quick write some JSON. So I already got it formatted. Beautiful. I need to send event and files. So let's format this. Let's go inside of here. Let's do event, event common upload success. Common upload success. Let's just format this. Okay, and then I can just go in here, comma, and I can do files, and I can turn them inside of here. So this is kind of like the callback we can send when I execute this workflow. So when I go inside of here and I have this value in here, I'll be putting it like this, and then we need to get the ID of this workflow. So we can get the ID of this workflow here, and now we should be able to run this code to execute this workflow that will run this JavaScript to log the constant. This is kind of like how we can handle this. Let's hope it works. So let's try reloading this, and let's see if we can, I think it should be execute trigger. If not, it will be execute workflow. Unexpected string. Okay. That is actually because there's a syntax error in there. That's just because there should be a comma. So let's try this one. Okay, this gives me undefined. Let's try execute global. It creates a promise. Workflow not found. Rejected. Okay. Let's see. What if we do execute trigger? So the thing right now is we need to handle some of this callback that comes from this component. We are doing a console log, but we're not doing the, no, we're getting an undefined back when we try to run this. So let's take a look at this, and maybe the AI can help us with that, because it does work with the global one, with the WW workflow. So I think we'll need to use another method. But we'll see. Let's go and edit component here. Upload care data callback on execution. What are we? How we're doing this? Because I need this to be able to be called freely. So you know what? I was just about to say I have an idea how we can call it, but I'm not too sure because we need to call this to get the callback, right? So it does work with the global one, but now that we're in a component, I know there has been an issue with WeWeb with this lately. So console log. So this will be interesting to figure out. This will be on execution. Let's see. I got properties here. I got actions on them. Let's try a different approach. Let's try deleting this one. Let's try adding it as a workflow inside of here. But this would be an on click, on scroll, no, on touch start. This would be a workflow on the event itself. So we are in this component here, right? We are in this component. Create a global workflow to execute anywhere in your app. Let's see, I would need to add this as a global workflow. The question is, if I now create this as a component, is the global workflow now bound to the component? Let's try that. Because I can call this as a global workflow. This will work. So we can run some custom JavaScript here. Let's paste this so I'm not losing it. And we can do console.log. And let's say it works. There you go, console log, it works. And we can copy the ID. And we can go inside of here. And now when I run this with, it should be execute global. There you go. If I copy this, I will now run this code, which is a big thing because this is how we handle the callback and get it natively back into WeWeb because we're using custom code, right? So let's see. And now you see we're getting that console log because we're now calling this global workflow, which is very important for us to get the callback into WeWeb's native system. Very, very important. So we have this workflow here, and it's very sad that we can't really do this in a component. I think that would be great for best practices. Again, I can't find it in their documentation. It's very bad for custom code. So we do have to kind of like hack things together more or less, which is quite sad because it does seem to be a very powerful tool. But let's see, is there any other way how we may be able to do this? Let's ask the AI. You know that I can call a global workflow like this. How can I call an component workflow using JS as well? Meaning a component action to run. Let's see. Okay. In WeWeb, you can call a component, workflow, or action by using JavaScript. You can use the WW component execute action method. Okay, I have a small assumption that AI just made that up. So let's go to WW components. So first of all, WW component doesn't exist. That's the first one. Component event documentation. This will be fun. On login success, on login value, there is no documentation on how to do this. Advanced properties, no, that's the runtime props. Unmounted, custom JavaScript, document query selector. In components, we can add custom JavaScript action. This instance, building scopes, this instance. Okay, so AI is hallucinating. This is just talking about query selector here. So let's say this does not exist. I think we need to do some digging on this. So let's try WW components then. Is there anything that looks like it makes sense? Register, constructor, load, define getter, define setter, value of no. WW component execute action. It does not seem that this exists at all. If I do this, you see how it says undefined in the console. Let's say does not exist. Let's see. I love when AI just hallucinates. Let's just have it return this WW components object. Let me say only this exists. Length, load, arguments, execution. Yeah, it's just making stuff up now. So this is always the downside when you work with AI. It just makes up stuff that does not exist. Execute action is not a valid at all. So WW component, we gotta do this ourselves. So let's do WW lib. Let's see what we have inside of here. Let's do dot Apollo emit execute workflow. Let's see. WW lib.execute workflow is depreciated. Okay, so WW execute workflow is depreciated. Use WW lib workflow execute global instead. Okay, so this old method is depreciated. But let's see, if there's another one that is similar. WW lib. If not, we need to do this with a global workflow. Async scripts, auth, components, WW dev, WW workflow, yes, execute workflow, that does not exist anymore. And WW component has nothing in it. WW component dot load dot length dot call maybe dot no. Let's see, dot define getter, define setter. No, constructor maybe. Assign, create, freeze. No. let's do www workflow. www workflow dot execute global, execute trigger, execute global, execute trigger. Trigger is for those events. Let's see. Let's try it one more time. Let's do execute trigger. We may be able to add a custom trigger to this component. Let's go back to edit. Let's see. We have a trigger here. And this trigger could be test. Okay. And I could copy the ID of the trigger, right? And I can do www workflow execute trigger, and I may be able to put this ID inside of here. Event of cannot describe property event undefined. Let's ask the AI, because this may be like, this is the closest to what we may need. Let's see. What does this do? Let's see. If not, we'll just use a global workflow for this. But that is SAT, is a function that used to programmatically execute a specific workflow trigger. This can be used for initiating workflows based on certain events or condition within your application. For example, you might want to trigger a workflow when a user interacts with a specific element. How can I trigger workflows in components? Let's see. Let's try that one. If not, we need to bind it to the page, but let's see. Select the component on click. I mean via JS. There must be a way, right? Let's see. If not, we need to do it with the global one, which is kind of sad. To trigger workflows via JavaScript, you can use your workflow ID, execute trigger. To trigger workflows via JavaScript and WeWeb, you can use trigger function. Here's how you can do this within a component. Identify the workflow. Make sure you know the ID of the workflow you want to trigger. Use the function. Let's try this. We can do this on the page here. We just need to have the ID. So let's go to edit again. And how about we try running this loading thing, right? How about that? Let's copy the ID. And let's see if we can programmatically do this. No, it just throws in an error. Execute trigger. Let's try execute global. Yeah, it will say workflow not found. Let's try, can we execute this as a trigger? I'm just trying to see if we can do anything natively within the component to follow web component best practices. No. Let's see. Edit component. We could do an element workflow. I have a hacky. Let's see. Do we lifecycle uncreated, unmounted? But then we can't. The issue is we can't execute code and then with a specific step of the code run things asynchronously. That is kind of like uncreated, and we don't have access to custom DOM events. So before unmount, that does not really help us. Uncreated, no, this will just show us when this was created. But I'm curious to see if I run this line here with execute trigger, right? If I run this line with execute trigger and I am going on, let's do an on click or whatever. Let's just do a log to this. Let's just do whatever. and I want to copy the workflow ID, and I want to see if that actually does something, because we won't know if we don't try. So let's try this one. This does not work. Let's do execute global. This does not work. And then let's actually try a step that may be a trigger. Let's click inside of here. Oh no, that doesn't have an ID of itself. So this does not help. Let's delete the workflow. So we do need to go globally with that, which is okay. We just need to have a robust way to handle this now if we have multiple ways on the page. Because now, as you can see, if I go inside of here and I would be running this global workflow, which is on our page, if I paste that inside of here and I do execute global. But WeWeb has such a great SDK, such great JavaScript capabilities. It's just sad that they don't have them that they don't have them well documented at all. It's actually quite terrible how they document those things. But it's very sad. But yeah, this is what I'm missing. I don't want to do this globally necessarily if I don't have to, but it seems like we have to create this global callback. So let's call this global, let's do global upload care callback. Upload care callback. So let's pretend we have this global callback, right? And we have now a way to execute the callback. If I exit the component, the callback is still on the page, which concerns me a little bit because I want it to be isolated in the component, but the AI does not help at all. So let's see. I got my data, I got my variable. But we also can't subscribe to variable changes. I just wanted to say what we could do, we could just update the variable programmatically. That will work. Now the issue in doing that is we won't know when it changed, which is a whole event, which is like the whole thing in working with SDKs. So I think we have to base it on the page level, which is kind of sad because I wouldn't like to do things on the page level if I don't have to. But I think we have to do this. So what I can do is we can go inside of here and we will probably then initialize this by ID, which should be put into it because that would be quite important for the upload care event to make sure that we're, assigning those to the proper ID so we can, because imagine we have multiple upload cares on a page and now everybody is sending the same global event. Now we may confuse which one belongs to which file, right? Because it doesn't have any clear event of its own. This is just like the only thing where I see a gap in the logic of the WeWeb editor where it just doesn't make sense the way it executes the code. And this is of course because I don't think WeWeb assumes people using upload care, but I think the scalability and the flexibility of a platform is dependent on how far you can go with it. And this is kind of like a hard limitation how far you can go. Or it may be that they have the feature, it's just very badly documented. That could be as well. But, I've asked Ray about it and he couldn't help me with that. He said, how about you just try all the things in the object? And I did, and I just couldn't find it. And there have been multiple people actually having that issue. So I hope that they get their stuff together and see if we can get those to execute remotely without having to bind it to the page, because that's not best practices, just doing it like this. But yeah, we'll see. And their AI is hallucinating, which is a whole different thing of its own. But we'll see. This is all fine. Maybe I have a cool way to hack this together. Let's see. We'll keep making action here and keep making progress. So let's see. I now need to call those globally. So for that, let's edit the code. Let's expand the code. Do I still have it copied? Yeah. Okay, execute global. Nice. So now inside of here, instead of doing console logs for a manual update, for example, we're going to run the execute global event. This will call our global workflow with this ID. There you go. And now inside of here, we need to add a comma and an object. And now we need to write the data that we want to return. So I want to return the event name Actually, now we need to also return ID for the sake of getting this right. Right? So we can, I have an idea how we can create a global parser for the events and then emit the event on a component level based on if the global one was called or not, but I still don't know if we can do this, but this is my assumptions. So I'm just going to add an ID in here regardless. So let's go with ID. Let's just, for now, take ID my uploader. And then we gotta do more things with this. Let's add a comma on here. And let's just call this common upload success. And I'm going to add a comma. And I'm going to go now inside of here. And I am going to now take files. And I'm going to add an empty array. There you go. Now I'm not going to do this with everything yet because I don't know if it's going to work for sure. So before we're going to waste some time, I want to make sure that it works correctly. So let's inspect the elements here. Let's go on the network tab and let's try uploading a file. And when I upload a file now, I should get in the console, no codian found for complex. I think I need to reload the page because we're doing global stuff and we're all doing all kinds of stuff here. Let's see. Because execute workflow, oh, I got rid of it, but it should work. Let's see. Let's try uploading a file here on this common uploader success event. And how now you see we get this it works, which calls this global action to handle the callback of the custom event, right? So now we need to adjust the parameters we're receiving in here. Or we need to even add parameters. So the first parameter will be ID. This can be my uploader as a sample event. We're going to add another event that will be event. We're going to do text common. This is just like sample props. Common upload success. Common upload success. And then we're going to add files. This will be an array, and I will just have an empty array inside of here. So this will be the callback, and let me just do something here. There you go. And now we got that all in here. We're handling the parameter. So now what I just want to do, I want to go on the event here, and I want to console log the whole payload that I'm receiving. So this will be parameters. Oh, I can't just take all parameters. So we got to turn this into an object here. And I'm going to now go inside of here and I'll do ID. And then I'm going to go inside of here in this JavaScript. And I will add ID. Oh, there you go. And then I'm going to add event. And I'm going to then add the event. And I'm going to add comma. And I'm going to add files, and I'm going to add inside of here the files array. And now we're going to log this, and I'm going to say www.lib event, because this actually now comes from the workflow that is executing this to handle the callback. So this is kind of like how this should work in theory. Just to make sure that we get a clear start on this, let's refresh the page. And now we can upload something in here. And now we should get this in the console. This is how we're going to get the data natively back inside of WeWeb. And now as you can see, www.lib event, we're getting the files. And we're getting this event. The only issue we're having is files is an empty array. So we need to adjust that a little bit. But that is not an issue, I think, with anything significant. It just emits the event and we get it natively back into WeWeb's mechanism. That is the important thing here. So let's edit this component here. And I think it's just, I made a syntax error, or made an error in general in the JavaScript. Because you see, we'll just send the files to be empty, right? So what we need to do e.detail all entries. And this will give us all the files, right? So now we can actually comment out, this console log. So now we can close this and we can reload the page, and now we should be able to have this all nicely set up in WeWeb. Let's go on the preview, let's go and upload files. Let's try uploading an image. And now we should get this www.lib event here, as you can see, with my files, with my CDN URL, with my UUID, with the file type, everything from UploadCare natively back into WeWeb, which is very important because we need this in order to make the API call working, right? So now we're getting this. Important is the fact that we are getting in this object here the event and the ID of my uploader. So we can now use this to then kind of like maybe emit a component event for a specific component. We'll see if we can emit a trigger for this. If not, we may have to have some other fancy way of let's see, is there a way how we can emit a trigger? Let's say, how can I emit a trigger for a, how can I emit a trigger for a WeWeb component via JS in a global workflow. So then we could use this global workflow to kind of like orchestrate all the upload cares to then have them all itself emit events, because WeWeb doesn't have a mechanism for emitting the events. But let's see, execute component action. If it just made this up again, I'm going to go nuts. I don't know how good their AI is for actually doing stuff. WW, it doesn't even exist. I think it thinks www.lib dot execute doesn't exist. It just makes it up. I love it. Execute component action. At least we're in the documentation here. Okay, this looks good. Components created with the editor. Components are designed to be self-contained with their own variables workflows. By default, components workflows are encapsulated and only accessible from within the component to maintain clean separation of concerns and prevent unwanted external interference. To make a workflow available as an action that can be triggered from outside the component, select the component workflow. Component workflow. Where is the component workflow? Create a component drop zone. Create a form and convert it into a drop zone. Adding to drop zone. Execute drop zone workflow. On component workflow. Configuring workflow execution. Allow execution from drop zone. Configuring workflow execution. Allow execution from outside. Enables the workflow to be triggered from anywhere using the execute component action. I have something I want to test. Let's try this. Okay, maybe I'm doing beginner mistakes here, but let's see. Edit the component. Let's just do something in here on execution. Allow execution from drop zone, allow execution from outside. We'll just do everything. We'll add JS inside of here. And let's do console.log and let's do OMG. Okay, let's do a console log here. And let's copy the ID and let's hope that this works, because if we can now execute this from the outside, or from, I assume if we can allow executing it from the outside, we may be able to then execute this somewhat remotely based on the JavaScript. So we can do www.lib www workflow. And we can put this in quotes. And let's try if this www.execute global. Let's just try everything. Okay, this doesn't work. Let's try execute trigger. Nope, doesn't work. Okay, so I need to figure out a little bit what drop zones are. When you create multiple instances of a WeWeb component, they share identical content elements, while styling can be customized per instance. Adding or removing elements affects all component drop zones. Solve this limitation by providing customizable areas within your component. It's like slots. Okay, this has nothing to do with this. I know I had links to this documentation, but I think we came a little bit further with this. Let's see. Built-in elements. Some WeWeb elements have pre-configured actions. For example, the default WeWeb video element comes with 3 actions. Develop custom components, but that is where we do Visual Studio Code. It doesn't seem that we have a native way for doing this. Execute component action. Execute component actions. Let's just take
this video
a real quick look at this. Oh yeah, they're doing this in. Let's see. Go back. We can't execute it within their low-code player. No, we can't do that. Okay. Execute workflow. Let's see. No, but this is all no code. Yeah. Okay. So we have to go all code, or we have to go all no code with WeWeb, as it seems. So we can't really emit events from this element by using JavaScript, which is sad. But yeah, that's just probably one of the limitations they better start solving, because there are other tools who do that way better. But let's edit this component here. And I have a few ideas how we may be able to get this going, so I can delete this one here. Okay. And now what we need to do is we got this callback action, which is good. And we're getting the callback. So let's see, what can I do with this? Let's see. Run JavaScript, time delay, navigate to, paste action, update collection, execute workflow. Which workflow can I execute? Global upload care callback. I can call it itself. Doesn't make sense. Okay. So let's delete this action. So there is an issue when it comes to logical completeness here. When it comes to working with custom code within the WeWeb editor, you either got to go with a custom view component, but it's a little bit restricting here. So right now we can just have this global receiver on the page, and then we can process logic accordingly to that. So what I can do is we just need to use this as a handler to process this. So in this example, I'm not sure if we need the event in this example then, because we can just adjust this to always get the ID of the uploader and always get the files array. So let's adjust this. Let's go and open or edit this component. Let's edit the workflow here. And we're just going to have just this, we're just going to accept the fact that we'll have a global handler for all the components on the page, and we're just getting the ID, and then we can process this based on conditional logic, right? And then we'll just need to make this dynamic with some of the properties of the element. So we're loading those things here. We can remove the event because we'll just have all events be treated the same. But this way we won't get the close event. No, we still need the events, because then we don't know if we're closing it or not. Okay, there are some gaps in how logic works. So let's try removing this here. Let's add this again. Event, and we're going to make this text. I do common upload success. We're going to add this in here. I'm going to do files. I'm going to take this as an array. We'll keep that. I'm going to close this. So, we're now just going to go inside of here. We're going to just keep it call this event, but we're just going to now add all events to it. So let's copy this here. And let's go to the image edited one. There you go. So we're getting all entries here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to upload this and we're going to return all entries, right? And with this one, this is file URL changed. So with this one here, we're going to take the files from all entries, and the URL will be file URL changed. We can remove the console log. So now we're going to have this execute the WeWeb, and we can remove the console log here. So now we are returning the file URL changed event. And let's go on done click. For this, we can just, call the same workflow. Oh, we can just call the same workflow, or actually, we could divide this in workflow and put them in a folder. But I don't know if we need that. We can kind of like make it globally anyway, because we got conditionals in WeWeb, right? So we can take this workflow execution and we can put this inside of here. And then we're going to do ID, my uploader. We'll need to make this dynamic, right? But then we're going to do a done click. So we're going to send that event inside of here. And we're going to put that inside of here. For done, we need to have actually a similar principle like here, because done itself will not give us all the files, but I still would like to have on done all the files sent, just for, making it easier to reuse this. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to change the event to done click, and I'm going to use the API and define this to get all the data from it. So we're just going to do done click here as an event. And I could probably want to define the API outside of it, but it is fine the way this is. A little bit more work, but we can put this inside of here. And then we're going to do modal close as an event. And we got event. We're going to do modal close. We can copy this JavaScript. And we can paste this here. And we can go to modal open. We can copy this here. We can go on modal open, and then we just do all entries, and now we're emitting that event. So this should be it. Now we're emitting the events when we do an upload, and we just have this handler outside to access it. I would love to have kind of like events on here, like Toddle handles it very nice. I would highly inspire the WeWeb team to get inspired by how they do that, because if they add that feature, I can see myself using WeWeb for, most of the things. It's sad that they have those limitations that if you want to do custom things, you got to turn it into a view component. So I think there's a little bit more to improve for the experience for developers, and especially when you go with those edge cases. It will also make it very nicer for people to build, plugins and templates for the community. I will think they will add lots of value, so I would highly consider them to consider it. But let's take a look at this callback. We're running JavaScript, right? And we're returning the events with a www.lib event on this handler that comes back. So let's reload the page here, and then I'm just going to inspect elements. We will take a look at the console, and now we should have this event handling system in place for my upload care. And you see it just, now I'm getting empty array, but I'm getting those events. So you see modal open, and I'm going to now get those events, and I'm getting them natively in WeWeb. So now I can get the variables back into there, right? So now you see I got my www.lib event, I got file URL changed, I got this in here, and I got now my other event. And every event now, even if I close it, right, always returns this array, so I can always override it with the latest version, making it simpler to work with those things. So that's cool. So let's go on the preview again. So we got this event handling. Now we need to get this natively back into WeWeb. Now how we're doing that, the key of this is the fact that we're doing this as a workflow with the parameters. So now I want to add a conditional option, right? So, and we don't really need this, but let's just go with the conditional option. And we can do a condition. Let's call this event switch. And now we need to create a condition, and I can add multiple branches. How do I write condition for the branches? Okay, this will be interesting. I think the branches will be values. We got lots of things to test out. I'm using JavaScript, excuse me. Let's do return, and we're going to take a look. I may need to do an if statement. I just have an assumption that whatever I'm returning here will be what it will run. I'm not sure if that is correct, but let's try return 3. Let's do 3 as a number, right? Return 3, and if this is 1, and if this is 2, and if this is 3, and if this is 4, right? And I will test this workflow, it will run 3. Okay, so this is how it works. Now we figured it out. So in this example, if this is true, I will just I can actually do this in native formula now. I will have to have this return the event, common upload success, right? And then I'm going to put all the events that we're looking for inside of here. So let's take a look at all the events. We have common upload success, of course. So we have, I'm just going to copy them because I don't want to do a typo here, and then I'm just going to debug this for another hour. So let's copy this here, right? And we're going to put this in a string. There you go. So we got common upload success. There you go. We got common upload success. And we kind of like are looking for the events, and then we can add further conditional logic based on which variable we wanted to manipulate, based on which ID it has. So that's kind of like the whole idea behind it. Unless there is a better way to do it. I may be completely blind and seeing, you know, maybe there's a completely simpler way to do this, and I'm just not knowing it because WeWeb changed their UI so much and I couldn't find it in the documentation. So please correct me in my comments if I'm doing something wrong here. But I feel like maybe there is a little bit of a gap of logical completeness here for now, but I think I got actually the WeWeb CEO on Twitter telling me that they're going to take a look at how they can improve those things when you do lots of custom code. So let's take a look, because I like doing lots of custom code, of course. Next video will be integrating Plaid and building a fintech application inside of WeWeb, so stay tuned for that. But what I want to do, I want to take another event, so that is the file, what was it, file URL change, right, for the image editor. So file upload, no, file URL changed. Let's take that event, let's go back to WeWeb, and I'm going to put this inside of here, and let's go back here. And then the other one was done click, right, we have done click. So I'm going to put this in quotes, done click. I got the done click now. Done click. And then we need modal open. Got modal open. So I'm going to put in quotes, the event, modal open. I will need to add one more. This will be modal close. So now we got this conditional branching in here that gives us all the events. And then on success, we can run our logic accordingly. So for now, I'm just going to add, I can actually remove the JavaScript here. So then in this, I'm just going to add let's do a log. I think then we'll also do a console log. So this log data to display, can I just do an object here, right? I may be able to do an object, and I can just say inside of here, I can just return files. Let's just do files, and then the message will be the event, right? So we got event, and there you go. So now I can just actually close this, And I can repeat this on everything. And I want to hard code the event because I want to see if it actually works. So how about we will unbind this formula. Oh, I can't unbind it. Oh, there you go, unbind. So this will be success because we actually want to see if it works. So how about we copy this action, we'll paste the action, we'll paste the action, we'll paste the action, and we'll paste the action, and we go inside of here and we'll call this one URL, and we'll go to this one and we'll call this one done, and we'll go to this one and we'll call this one open, and we'll go to this one and we'll call this one close. Okay, so now we can go to the preview. I want to reload the page so we can start, and I think we'll now need to take a look at here to get the debugging from here. So let's go to the preview. Let's try uploading files. And let's try. I need to go to the logs. Yeah, and I'm getting logs inside of here. So I'm getting success, I'm getting URL. Am I getting them in the console with WeWeb? No, I'm not, but I'm getting them here. So it does work. We're now getting this callback natively and the logic seems to be complete. So now we need to kind of like implement our IDing system so we can know which one is actually doing which in case we want to have multiple uploader components on the page. So for this, I want to edit the component, and we need to add a runtime prop, or however WeWeb supports or calls that its property, right? So this property will be the ID for the uploader, and the type will be size. Do we have type ID, collection ID? No. So let's just do text, default value, UUID. They caught me off guard. I gotta go and get a UUID for this. I'll put it inside of here. What's advanced? Bindable, on, yes. Responsive, no. Classes, hide property, no. Let's create this. So I got now this ID property. I may want to create a formula. We'll see if formulas are reactive. Let's call this ID, and let's write some JavaScript. Let's do return ID, and then the fallback will be or. In string, we will call this upload care. So if it's undefined, we'll just give it an ID of upload care. There you go, upload care. Nice. Okay, so now we got this going on, and this should give us an ID. So we have this formula, and now we can create a formula for the ID, and I hope it's reactive. If not, we got some refactoring to do. But essentially what we want to do is we want to bind this ID with all the things inside of here. This will be fun. So let's first start with the easy parts, and the easy part will be how we're initializing things inside of here with the formula. And for that, actually, I want to add a new JavaScript just to test something. I want to go inside of here and take the formula of the ID. So now I know how I'm getting the ID for the formula, right? So I can delete this now, and I can integrate this in my code inside of here for the upload care. So we have the CTX name, and this will be my uploader. This will be the ID. So I just paste this inside of here to get the ID of this. We can also have a nicer implementation where before we run this code, I'm just going to add a const unit ID, for example, and I'm just going to define it, or let's call this uploader ID. So I can just define a const up here, uploader ID. We don't have uploader ID in here, right? Yeah, we don't. Okay, and then I can just go inside of here, and I can just take it from the const of uploader ID to kind of like make it nicer. And then we define it in here. The CTX provider, we can keep that the way it is, but we need to have a dynamic uploader ID, which is the CTX name. And yeah, that should be it. And then we do upload success ID. So now we need to actually add the ID dynamically inside of here. So for that, again, we can add the uploader ID that we have defined up here. And then we need to add this dynamic inside of here as well. And then we need to go inside of here. And we will need to add this dynamically inside of here as well. And we will do this inside of here as well. And we will take this and we will define this dynamically inside of here as well. So we are appropriately doing all of this. Then when we define the API, we're doing this from uploader. So when we are defining the uploader in here, uploader.event-listener, we're defining the uploader right inside of here for this UC element with the context provider. So I think this should be okay because we're programmatically adding it. Set attribute, and it runs in a con. So it should be an isolated environment. There may be some issues where we have to refactor the code in case we are just getting all the events emitted at the same time and not with the appropriate ID. But for that, we will probably need to add 2 uploader components to the page to properly test this out. So this should be it. We're now adding the dynamic ID and initializing it with a dynamic ID. So to double check if we broke anything, let's try this by going to our action again. And let's just go to our log, and instead of logging the files, I want to log the ID to see if we're actually getting the appropriate ID. So let's go in here and let's log the ID, because the IDing system is quite important because we can't really programmatically with this implementation use the events that are bound to the component, at least not to my knowledge. Again, I may be doing things wrong here, more than likely. But this is kind of like with my limited knowledge and the AI inventing formulas and functions that don't exist. This is the best that I can do here. So treat this video as entertainment. And let's go to the preview here. And we will now take a look at our log panel in WeWeb and see if, there's some life to this. Let's take a look at the log panel. Let's clear the logs. Let's click on here in the preview. Let's cancel. Let's open. Okay, I'm not getting logs. It's starting good. We may want to revert to, we may want to revert to having some JavaScript in here to see this in the console, because we are probably breaking something, possibly. Let's just go inside of here and let's do a console.log. Okay, and we're going to add an object, and I just want ID. And then with the ID, I'm just going to take the ID of the parameter. So I just want to get this event, and then we'll call this in quotes in here WW event. I just want to see if there's some life to it and if the IDing system is working. That is because that will be very important to handle file uploads accordingly. Okay, let's take a look at that. For that, I prefer using the browser console more than the WeWeb debugging. So I'll just like doing this in here, but you can use the WeWeb debugger if you're more familiar with that. So now, as you can see, we're not emitting events, right? Because I think the event listener that we're adding is not correct. Or it could be because this property inside of here could be because formulas are not reactive. If that is the case, we need to adjust things a little bit. But let's try something. So we have this ID inside of here. Let's make this ID uploader. Now, if I reload the page, I want to inspect elements and see if we're adding this ID correctly. I do think we have a reactivity issue, because maybe if I now go to in here, no, I'm still not getting the logs. Okay, so we want to take a look at this component because I have an assumption. Let's first actually inspect elements here. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, definitely we got the UC icon name upload. I need to take a look at the CTX. CTX provider has now the CTX name of uploader, so that is correct. But all the other elements don't have it. They are all my uploader, so we don't have the HTML dynamic. That's why there are no events being emitted. Of course. So that's the issue. Let's edit the component, because now we need to get the HTML put together dynamically with with this formula, and I think it should be reactive because it does work. So we need to go in here to the HTML, and we need to edit the code that we're returning, and we need to get the formula inside of here. So now actually, let's go back to the component event because I forgot how to get the formula inside of here. And let's take a look at this workflow, and let's just add some JavaScript to the workflow just to have the pleasure of putting our formula inside of here. And I don't know if the formula is reactive because I don't see it in here, which concerns me a little bit, but we'll see. If it's not reactive, we can always refactor it. And now we can go to the layout, and I want to just see if we can, because I want to just see if we can get the HTML rendered accordingly. So let's expand this. And now the only thing I really want to do is the CTX name. For now, the rest will take care of that, of course. But for the CTX name, I'm just going to add the dynamic name in here. So now, as you can see, we're adding uploader. So it is reactive and it does work. So we are now making the CTX name dynamic inside of here by using JavaScript to return that HTML code that will then render it as this HTML embed. So now if we open this, oh shit. Let's go to edit component, and we'll go to UC holder, and we'll go to the edit code, and we're expanding this code. And we are now going to my uploader, so I can just add a $sign and an object in here to make this code dynamically being inserted. No, I don't want this. And as you can see, we're putting this right inside of here. So now if I go to preview and I reload, there is a high likeliness that we're now getting the event emitted because we actually have the names be how they should be. If not, there are some other things that we want to take a look at, but let's just really quick inspect elements here, and let's take a look at this. Let's just go here. So let's take a look. UC uploader regular has the CTX name now of uploader, which is good. This comes from the dynamic property, from the runtime prop that we're doing here. That's good. Okay, so now we can collapse this. Now I want to take a look at the provider. So we'll do Command F. We'll do CTX provider. And we got the CTX provider with the same name. So now when I go to console and I click on here, as you can see, I'm getting the event and I'm getting the ID of the element logged, which is good. So this illustrates me that we have this IDing system correctly set up so we can understand which uploader has the file uploaded. And then we can just kind of like manipulate an array or whatever we want to do, so we can also render them dynamically, which is, you know, for some use cases needed, right? So now we got that system in place. There are a few things I want to double check. Now, what happens if I go to this and I make it uploader 1, right? Let's go to the preview and let's see if the events still work, because I have some concerns in how, yes, so now you see we're not getting this. It may be because we need to reload the page, but that would then illustrate me that the formulas itself are not reactive. But I just want to see, yeah, now we're getting that event. So this is fine. We may want to just do this with JavaScript to have a fallback if that property is set, because again, my concern is that the formulas are not fully reactive, which is the case for most no-code tools. But we're using Vue. Vue is quite reactive, but you know, better safe than sorry. So let me just kind of like try getting rid of the formula, because I don't know its reactivity, and I will just get the ID and just write a formula myself. So for that, let's go back to the HTML, and let's go. Oh, where did it go? Let's go to the properties. No, we gotta click on here. Oh, I can't click on here. Okay, now I can click on here. Okay, and I need to go to. Okay, why can't I click on the HTML? Let's edit this. Okay. Huh. You see how I can't click on the element? This is weird. Okay, now I can click on here. Okay, now I'm here. Or what happened? Oh, we're on the style panel. Oh, this one is collapsed, I think. Okay, yeah, there you go. This one is collapsed. So let's make this bigger. And I just want to have this be a JavaScript formula just for the sake of reactivity. So if we're changing the naming, it should, automatically run. So let's go inside of here. Let's take the property ID because you see it's directly available. And then I'm just going to take property ID and I'm going to do or. If this doesn't exist, it'll fall back to upload care. Upload care. So now I got this formula here. To define that, I can just simply copy this. So now as you can see, we got uploader 1, and if it wouldn't be defined, it would default back to upload care. So the code itself is defaulting. And now I can click on HTML, edit the code, expand this here, go inside of this tokenized text, put that formula inside of your upload care. Yeah, I can close that. I only need to adjust the workflow now. So let's go to the JavaScript that we're running inside of here. Let's expand this. Let's just redefine the uploader ID that runs in this code, just for little best practice reasons. There you go. Very nice. So let's take a look at preview. So now when I go on inspect elements, it should be, if it wasn't before reactive, it should be a more reactive experience now. So if I now go on this element here, let's go back to the page layout, right? And if I now change this property to be uploader 2, right? And I go back to the preview mode and click on things. It probably has to do with their iframe and how it works, because it didn't work before. But I think in case the formulas itself are not fully reactive, we should now have that issue eliminated in case that would ever be on the table. So when I now preview this here, there you go. And I probably need to refresh anyway. But now you see we're getting the ID of the uploader, so now I can have multiple uploaders in theory, and I should be getting multiple IDs, so then I can process the events accordingly, because the elements itself right now can't have events executed by code that runs in them, as far as my knowledge goes with this, which is quite limited, to be fair. So let's duplicate this uploader so we can have 2 uploaders, and let's make this, the first one, uploader 1, and we'll make the second one uploader 2, because now we want to see if they work in separated life cycles. So for this, let's go on uploader 1 and let's upload expert office hours on uploader 1. And now there's no event. Fun. But if I click on uploader 2, okay, so it doesn't seem that we are handling this that good, because I do have the assumption that if we have 2 elements, we're not handling the context properly. If I click on 1, you see it uploads 1. I can upload beginner office hours, and I get done. Now if I click on 2, it opens uploader 2. I can upload a random total file, and I will get uploader 2. Okay, actually it does work. It probably had to refresh, because sometimes running things in iframes can be funky. And I can click on 1, and I can click on 2. And as you can see, there are actually separate environments with separate IDs coming back. So this actually seems to be working, which is cool. So now we kind of like want to have this sync up with variables in WeWeb, because that is quite important. So let's go to the data here, to the variables, and let's create one variable for uploader 1. And this will be an array. I'll just store the file uploads inside of here. And then I will close this and I will create a new variable for uploader 2, right? Uploader 2. And this will be an array. So this will be a list of items. Okay, now we got those two IDs and we need to be in developer mode to actually get the IDs. So now I kind of like want to build a little mapping system so I have less worries. I don't have to always do it too complex in how I'm setting the variables. So before actually we do that, I want to have, and my UI is going to look terrible, excuse me for that, but I want to have a text area. Rich text. Or let's just, do they have a text input? Rich text input. Yeah, I want it under here. Oh, that's a nice rich text input. I didn't expect it to be that nice. Okay, this is cool. Tag to edit, no. Let's get some data into it dynamically. So placeholder, init value, okay, lots of properties. That's the initial value, okay. Read only, editable. Okay, let's bind this to the variable. And let's just go in here with uploader1. And I probably need to do return JSON dot stringify. Oh, JSON dot stringify, and instead of here, I want to take uploader1. Yeah. So now I can see the data into it. Hopefully, if my idea works out, because I want to see if they're, I want to show you kind of like how we can get their data, and I have no better idea to show you this right now than just putting a text area in there to show it. So let's try uploading a file. We should get the events. Yeah, we get the events, so we're not setting it actually with the variable yet, so let's see. Actually, we need to adjust the event. But now we got this variable, so if I were to upload, I want to see the text inside of here. And I probably also want to duplicate this event, move one under the other uploader, go on the initial value, and I got to go inside of here and got to adjust the variable that this will represent. This will do, I'll take the variable, for uploader 2. So I got it all nicely set up. So I got 2 uploaders and I just need this to show the text. I don't want any fancy editing stuff. This is just for illustrational purposes only. Okay, now that we got this all in place, I need to adjust the global action to set the uploaders because I want to do actually a global mapping formula for this. So we got those events here in case you want to listen for them. We have them in place here. But since every event updates it, I'm not actually listening for them. I'll let that up to you. If you need to do anything specifically, if an ID is going on with this event, you can have access to those events here. But I just want to have a global JavaScript with a mapping formula to kind of like handle this more or less automated for me. So let's take a look. What we want to do, we need to set a variable with JavaScript. So let's say, how can I set a variable using JS in WeWeb? JS block. And you can do this, and this is kind of like, this will allow us to have like a nice mapping system in place. And I ran out of AI token shit. Okay, so there you go. I think the community got to do it. Set variable in WeWeb using JS, using JavaScript. Yeah, it needs to be www.lib. So this is new. You can set this in under 15 minutes. Array made a great video. You can return the extended variable of the www.lib object outside of the context. You can do this using a
variable step in a workflow, just go to JavaScript mode and return the extended variable value. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so actually we don't need to do JavaScript with that. We could just do a formula in JavaScript to determine which variable we're setting. Let's see. Let's try change variable value and then create, oh, no, I don't want a global variable. But I can hard code the variable, which I want to set it with JavaScript so I can have a mapping formula in place. So I don't always have to do like such a big conditional statement, if you know what I mean. So I know it's possible. Just look at the appropriate resources available for us. Let's do set variable in WeWeb using JS. Let's take a look. Variables, exploring. Let's see. You can set variables, your variable name equals new value. If that's that easy just by updating the object, that would be nice. So let's go to JavaScript, custom JavaScript. Let's edit the code, and I think we can maybe just, if we take the variable uploader1, oh, wrong one, uploader1. How can I get the variable inside of here? Let's see. Let's try return. Cannot edit in read-only mode. Okay. Okay. Return. Let's just see. Okay, there you go. I can now upload this. So let's see. I can do variables equals. Wow. Ooh. Let's see if that works. Executed, setting variable for value 1. Okay, let's take a look at that. So right now, if this runs any event, we should be updating the variable 1, and then we just want to see if this actually updates that input field. If not, I'll just put a text area in there. Let's go on preview. Let's take a look at data. Can we see current value? No. Let's see, copy the ID. If not, we just do a long conditional statement. But it seems like, wrong, we need to go to the debugger. It seems like it's setting the value for the variable. So maybe using the text area approach is not the best solution. So let's just put a text field inside of here. That's probably more reactive. So let's go inside of here and let's add a heading. Okay. And let's just bind this heading. Let's go inside of here, text. Oh. Return. Oh. Okay, so we can get this. Okay, perfect. Let's just then map this with a formula, and I want this to just show variable 1. And let's see if that. Okay, I cannot really see if we're setting the variable. So how about we actually implement something with a console log? If not, we'll just write them manually doing a conditional statement, which is fine as well. But let's see, I still don't know if this variable is being set correctly at all, because I want it to be having kind of like have a dynamic mapping formula for it. So I can have this ID is for file uploader 1, this ID is for file uploader 2, this ID is for file uploader 3. So I just have to always adjust an array rather than just always adding new blocks to it, and it's just going to be that big, right? So I don't know if it works. I also have it set as an array, so that may be actually the issue, because the variable is listening for array inputs. So let's do hello in an array. And then let's go inside of here, under here, and let's go and add WeWeb's log, and I'll be logging just the message value called, actually I can einbind it. I can just say ww variable, and I do data to display, and I will take variable 1. Let's close this. Let's preview this. Let's reload the page, and let's see if this works. I'm excited. Okay. Let's go to the debugger. Let's clear the debugger. Let's try uploading. Okay, you see how it sets the variable to hello? This is nice. So this shows me that the variable is being set successfully, and if I exit this, that's nice. Okay, so the variable is being set. So I'm getting the data in the variable. I see the current value inside of here. Okay, so now I can go to the execute workflow here, and I can build a little mapping formula. So this is the idea. So the mapping formula, I never know how to write a filter formula in JavaScript. It's just too much greater than, equals, and objects, but I'm just going to do what I can do, and then I'll have ChatGPT put it together nicely. So I do const uploader ID equals uploader 1. So we'll just put the ID of the uploader inside of here, right? And then I'll have an array, and I'll do const mapping data, and I'm going to add an array, and I'm going to add an object in here, and then I'm going to say ID, and that ID is going to be, so I can just adjust that JSON structure and have a dynamic mapping formula without having to use their native functionalities. And inside of here, I'm going to do uploader 1, and then inside of here, I'm going to add a comma, new line, and I'm going to do variable, and I'm going to do variable, and then I'm going to add the ID of the variable, right? There you go. So now I just want to beautify this a little bit. Nice. Let's copy that. Let's go back to WeWeb, put this inside of here. That looks nice. Actually, I probably want to do it like this. And now I want to format this again because that is not valid JSON formatting. Oh, it's JavaScript formatting. So how about I'll add a comma, and I'll add another one, and then let's see if it formats it nicely. Okay, there we go. And I like doing it like this. Let's just take the JSON and put it into JSON formatter actually. JSON formatter. Let's paste that inside of here. Let's be, oh, it's not valid JSON. Uploader 1. Oh, it needs to be here. Let's see, we got some white space in here. Let's see, why is this not valid JSON? We got a comma. We got this. We got this. Oh, the first part of the array is missing. Okay, now it should be JSON. There you go. Now we got this nice. We can copy this nicely formatted. So it'll be nice and easy to work with. Let's go back to WeWeb. We will just take this here, put this in. Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Very nice. So now I got uploader 1 with this ID. Now I got uploader 2 with this ID. So what I will be doing is I will need to get the variable ID of uploader 2. So I go to variables. Oh, I will need to go to data. I will go to uploader 2. I'll copy its ID. I will go back to my global callback. I'll go to the custom JavaScript. So I kind of like want to make this mapping formula, so I just have to always update this JSON structure rather than just always having to add a new step, and it's just going to get big and clunky. So I got uploader 2, and uploader 2 will have this ID. There you go. So now when uploader 1 comes and uploader 2, it'll map it with the ID. So now, this is where I need ChatGPT. I say, I have this array, and I have const with the ID. I need to filter out the variable that equals the ID in the const. There you go. We just need a mapping data. Okay, find, extract the variable, and then we should be able to run this. Let's actually try this. And we could just run this actually in the console. Let's go to the console. Let's put this in here. Oh, matching variable. Yeah, and we got this. So now we're getting the matching variable. So I can put this code inside of here. We're getting the uploader ID. And then based on the ID that comes in from here, we're getting the variable ID from the WeWeb variable. And then we're going to map this, right? And then we're getting the variable here as const variable. So then when we update the variable, we're going to remove this ID that we have inside of here, and we're just going to put the variable constants inside of here, because this will then allow us to just get the dynamic one that mapped. And now we need to adjust this a little bit, because as we can see, this callback has parameters. It has the ID and it has the event. We're primarily interested in the ID and the files. So what we're doing here in this code, we're going to extend this, and we are now going to take this uploader ID, and this will need to come from the variables that we have on the page. Actually, no, it needs to come from the parameter. So inside of here, this const ID will come from the ID parameter that goes into the workflow. Then we have our mapping formula here, and I can adjust it based on the variables that I have on the page. So uploader 1 has this variable, uploader 2 has this variable. So I have kind of like a lightweight mapping formula that's going to be a little bit more compact than just doing this with a no-code workflow. And then I'm just going to set the variable with the value, and the value that will be set will be with files. So now I got this universal variable update. So let's call this universal variable update formula. Universal variable update formula. I can remove the lock, and then I can also again process certain logic based on the input ID if I want to on a specific uploader, based on those events that are available to me here. So now I can go in the preview, and now we should be getting, because we have this now linked with this global mapping formula, if I take a look at the debugger, precisely at the variables, we should be seeing how those variables are now updating. So if I go to upload 1, and I'm going to upload 2 files on the uploader 1, we should be seeing that the 2 files are now added on the uploader 1 variable. So we now have this available to us in upload care, right? And then when I go back to upload care here and remove this, you see how we have removed 1 file here. So now we only have 1. And if I remove this, you see how we're wiping it out, right? So now if I add 2 files inside of here, you will see how they appear, and I can edit the file now using upload care's file editor, and you will see how this data updates, and we have the new data in here. So now we can go on done. Now if I go to the second one and I try uploading a file, let's do an Apple site association in a total JSON file, you'll see how it now updates it inside of here. If I delete this, you see how it updates the data. So now we have multiple upload care instances on the page, and I just deleted now all the files inside of here that correspond to different variables on the page. So you can have multiple upload care instances inside of your WeWeb project but they can all talk to their own variables, and we have a smart mapping formula to handle that. And that's how you get upload care working in WeWeb. It was a blast doing this with you. And if you need a little bit more help when it comes to probably more of the JavaScript stuff, I would highly suggest you take a look at NoCodeProCode.com. We have daily office hours, Monday to Friday, where we'll help you with everything JavaScript and NoCode, where we have daily Zoom meetings and a whole forum of a community to help you solve those kinds of things where there is a limitation in the no-code tool and you're like, how am I going to do this? And, you know, JavaScript is the way around it. And if you need help with that, you want to go around some of those roadblocks like we did today in this 2.5 hours, I would highly suggest you take a look at NoCodeProCode.com. It's probably the best investment that you can do if you're using WeWeb, if you're using Xano, if you use anything no-code, to just go around those limitations that are sometimes there temporarily with a little bit of custom code like we did today. So I hope that this video was very entertaining, and I hope that you learned a lot from it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.